Hey everyone, this is Jace bringing you another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video, and in today's video I wanted to make something for newer players who might be a little bit intimidated by the very hard version of the Crisis Dungeon in the ongoing Dungeon Ranking event. So this team is going to be a pretty free-to-play friendly team. All of the weapons that we're using are going to be weapons that are given to you by the game without having to engage with the gacha system at all. So it's going to be mostly free event weapons and summon weapons, and I'm going to be using the Buster Sword as well, because that's something that's given to us by the game without having to, do any pulls. So the reason I wanted to make this video is that if you're anything like I was when the game first started, I was pretty intimidated by the first dungeon ranking event. But the reality is that anytime there's a dungeon ranking event, it's just free power for everyone's accounts, whether you've been playing since day one or whether you started yesterday. So I wanted to show a run that you can do with relatively low power that will still get you at least an A+, at least the way that I've decided to run it. The combat power here is just shy of 140,000, and I think that even that's misleading. I think this team is not super optimized, and I think really the CP should be lower, but the way that the game calculates CP is a little bit strange. So if you can't hit 140k, don't panic, you can probably make a more optimized team for this run. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the gear. So with Cloud, we're using his Holiday weapon in the main hand, and Shiva Blade in the offhand. His summon is Whiteout, not Diamond Dust, so that's another way that we're handicapping ourselves. For the materia, we're using a 3-star Triangle Ruin Reblow, a 3-star Circle Ruin Reblow, and a 3-star Quakera. For sub-weapons, I'm only allowing myself to use 2 sub-weapons on each character. That's another way that I'm reducing the CP of this team. For the first sub-weapon on Cloud, we have Vivi's Magical Gun from the FF9 crossover event, and then we have the Buster Sword at OB4. You don't have to have it at OB4 to pull this off, because you'll be using more than 2 sub-weapons. Alright, now on Matt, actually hang on, before I get too ahead of myself, here are Cloud's R abilities if you're interested. It's nothing impressive, but just in case you wanted to see them. Alright, now for Matt, we're using his free outfit from the campaign. We're using his Holiday weapon as well. Stats are similar to Cloud's Holiday weapon. We're using the Bahamut Rapier here. Actually, I didn't show the stats of the Shiva Blade, just in case you wanted to see them. Back to Matt. For his Limit Break, we're using just his standard single target Limit Break. And then we have, for materia, a 3-star Triangle Ruin Reblow, a 4-star Blazara, and a 4-star Quakera here. For his sub-weapons, we're running Sephiroth's Torn Wings from the Critical Threat event for Sephiroth, and we're using the Beach Parasol from the Summer event. Here are Matt's R abilities in case you're interested in seeing them. So he's going to do a little bit more damage than Cloud, I think, because he has more magic attack. He's going to be our main DPS, but really him and Cloud are both just here for DPS. And then lastly we have Glenn. We're using Glenn's free outfit from the campaign as well. And then we have the Steiner Blade from the FF9 crossover event. We have Thousand Waves from the Summer event. For his Limit Break, we're using just his standard single target Limit Break. We're bringing a Healing Azuna for poison because there are some ad encounters that have poison. Actually, both ad encounters have poison, and it can be pretty dangerous if you don't have enough damage to kill them quickly, and this team does not. Alright, next materia is a 4-star Kira. This is the only healing that we have other than that Healing Azuna for poison on this team. And then we have a 4-star Quakera Blow. For his sub-weapons, I brought 2 healing sub-weapons. Both of these weapons are from the Halloween event. We have the Chocobo Staff and the Pumpkin Blaster. Right, and here are Glenn's R abilities, just in case you want to see them. So nothing impressive in terms of damage, and then his healing isn't even level 4. So this is quite a weak team. It's very not optimized, and I think even the CP is misleading. It's definitely weaker than what you would expect from a 140k CP team built with gacha weapons. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the run. Now, just in case you skipped ahead to this part and didn't hear my explanation at the beginning, this is not a super high score run. This is meant to be a run for players with lower CP or players who are a little bit nervous about the event, who just want to go in, get their score, get the free rewards, and get out. So first up is the Scorpion Sentinel. I'll walk through its mechanics. It's going to target one of your characters, and it's going to do a single target magic attack. It hits decently hard because while it's charging up this attack, it's going to be hitting that character with an ability that inflicts magic defense down. So you can see a magic defense down debuff on Matt already. I don't have anything on this team to counteract that, so Matt's just going to have to take this attack. All we can do is swap to defensive stance and heal him up afterward. Glenn and Cloud and well, really all 3 characters are going to be using ice except for Glenn, who doesn't have any ice materia equipped. So that's how much damage the attack is going to deal. We're able to swap to defensive stance and heal Matt up. I really shouldn't have switched out of defensive stance first. I should have just healed him up right away. But after that, all we're doing is just spamming our ice abilities, trying to do as much damage as we can. The next thing that he's going to do, other than just these kind of intermittent attacks against our party, is he's going to go into a stream phase. In the gear overview, I mentioned that I brought Ruinra blows for triangle, and that's because the Scorpion Sentinel, during that stream phase, if you hit him with magic attacks, he's going to counter with an AoE tail laser attack that hits pretty hard. So if you end up getting to this part of the fight, I strongly recommend that you bring physical ruins and not the magic ones, because you don't want to get countered. We're able to interrupt his stream phase, and we're able to kill him during the high ATB portion right afterward. So this fight still went by pretty quickly, and we're able to get a score of about 60,000, or just under it. So here's where the dungeon ranking run can be split even further. If this was still a very difficult fight for you, you can do something different from what I'm about to do. I'm going to take the Earth Potency, and I'm going to go grab that chest. If that was an extremely difficult fight for you, what I want you to do is I want you to take the Ice Potency instead of the Earth Potency, and I want you to grab that chest up there and then go to the right. I'm going to loop around to the left, but if you go to the right, you can actually go straight to the last boss, the Red Dragon, and just fight him, kill him, get your rewards, and get out. You can still maybe get like a C or a B or something like that. That's just a guess. I don't know what you'll actually get if you do that, but that is an option if that first fight was particularly difficult. If the first fight was, well, went about as well as it did for me, then go ahead and do the same route that I'm doing. Take the Earth Potency and go this way. There's an add encounter here. The Wrathhounds inflict poison on your team, which is why I brought the Healing Azuna for poison. I recommend that you manually target the Wrathhound first, either left or the right. Your party should immediately go to the second Wrathhound once you kill the first one, but you want to kill them off quickly so that they stop inflicting poison on your party. The Queen here can also inflict poison, but once you've killed the Wrathhounds, it's going to focus on trying to use this Ready to Pounce ability, the Leaping Slash, instead of inflicting poison. And then you can just kill it with magic ability since it boosts its physical defense. You want to try and kill it before it can get that Leaping Slash off, but if you have to take the Leaping Slash, just remember to swap on over to defensive stance and try to heal up the person who got hit before you head into the next boss fight. Alright, so the next boss that we're going to be fighting is the Mole Crawler. In dungeon ranking events, and really Crisis Dungeons in general, I always try to fight this boss as early as possible because it's very, very tanky. So if we can kill it before it benefits from all the Crisis level increases, then we have a better probability of getting a good score. For this version of the fight, there are going to be these Headhunters on the side. They're going to charge up an ability and just attack your party. They're single target attacks, I believe. I recommend just killing them before they can get the attack off, and then you can focus completely on the Mole Crawler. If you've been paying close attention, you notice that my limit breaks are up. I'm intentionally holding them because if you don't kill the Mole Crawler too quickly, he will actually give himself a magic defense down debuff in the middle of the fight that lasts for I don't know how long it lasts, but a few seconds, but what I'm trying to say is that it's a damage window. So instead of using our limit breaks here at the beginning, we're going to take advantage of that damage window, and that way he can have a lower probability of launching his strong single target magic attack at the end of the fight. So throughout this fight here, he's going to be just peppering your party with attacks that don't hit too hard, but they start to add up over time, so just keep a close eye on your HP. And then, in not too long, he's going to go into that magic defense down phase that I mentioned. When he goes into that phase, he doesn't attack. Yep, here it is, cooldown. So he doesn't attack, and he takes extra damage. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to use all 3 limit breaks and get as much damage in as possible. If you damage him too quickly, he'll actually skip this cooldown phase and go right into Showdown. And during Showdown, he gets stronger and he picks one of your party members and hits them with a single target magic attack that's quite strong. He also lowers your party's magic defense right before it, so it's a little bit tricky, but we can take advantage of the fact that we don't deal too much damage to make sure that we get the cooldown phase on the boss, and then we take advantage of that cooldown phase. Now from here on out, we're just going to be doing as much damage as possible. He's entered his showdown mode. He's going to use tear gas, which inflicts that magic defense down that I mentioned just a moment ago. And then he's going to pick one of our party members to hit with a strong single target magic attack. We are going to try and kill him before he gets that attack off. And not to spoil anything, but we're going to successfully kill him before he gets the attack off. If he does get the attack off, it's definitely possible to survive it. It just hits really hard, and when you take damage in Crisis Dungeons, you also get your maximum HP reduced. So we want to avoid that by just killing him, and we're just barely able to make that happen. So the score that we're going to get is not going to be super impressive, but it's above 50,000, which for most Crisis Dungeons is the bare minimum that I shoot for. In ranking events, I shoot for 60, but we're going to treat this as just a regular Crisis Dungeon. Now, I'm not going to be taking any score boost throughout the run, so if this looks a little bit too easy for your party, you're welcome to take the score boost. I decided to take the 60% magic defense. I'm also going to opt to use some items here, just to keep my party healthy, because I'm not really trying to take any risks with this party. Now this boss I want to kill before things get too hairy. He's going to open up with an AoE water attack. That's one of the reasons that one of the trance abilities from the Mole Crawler fight had water resistance up. But we decided to take magic resistance because it'll still apply to that water attack, and it'll apply to other things in the dungeon as well. This is the only boss in the dungeon that uses water abilities, as far as I know. So the first thing he's going to do is buff his physical defense, which is okay because our two main DPS characters are using magic to deal the damage, so they don't have to worry about that buff. But he's going to open with Water Surge, which is that AoE water ability that I mentioned just a moment ago. Make sure you're topped off, and make sure you switch to defensive stance before the ability goes off. Now, thankfully we took that 60% magic defense up, so we don't get hit too hard, but it's still a respectable amount of damage. Afterward, we're going to just try and do as much damage as we possibly can. He's going to summon a couple of adds, and then he's going to buff the damage that those adds can deal, both their physical and magical damage. He's going to go into a stream phase. I decided to use some limit breaks here, just to delay the damage that the boss and the adds are able to deal. That's a good strategy that you can follow just going forward. You can often interrupt enemies' abilities and make them have to recast them by timing your limit breaks and your summons properly. So that's what we're doing here. You might have already noticed, but when this boss goes into its stream phase, it also gives itself a physical and magical defense down debuff. So we're able to take advantage of that and deal just enough damage to kill the boss before it kills us. And just as a farewell present, that enemy's gonna hit Cloud, because why not? Alright, and we get a pretty decent score. 61,000 is not bad at all, and a 48-second fight. Again, for trance abilities, we're not taking any score boosts. We're just trying to play everything nice and safe. All we want to do with this run is kill as many bosses as we can, get our score, and get out so we can get those rewards that the game will give us irrespective of our ranking against other players. We opt to take the additional healing and the 15% earth potency. Now, our party's very beat up. We're going to grab these items here. If you decided to take the shorter route, you're actually going to come out right here, and you can go straight through and then up the hill to fight the dragon after you grab the chest that we grabbed just now. I'm going to use a cottage just to fully heal up our party, and then this next boss that we're going to fight is the last boss that is weak to earth. So I'm going to use more earth cocktails. I can't remember if I decided to use a magic jelly here or not. I kind of thought back and forth about whether I would need the extra damage. And then instead, I guess I just opted to use the last earth cocktail on Glenn there. Now these bosses, they have a very strong physical AoE attack right at the beginning of the fight. That's one of the reasons I wanted to heal up and be completely topped off. They're going to open up by starting to cast that ability, so we're going to try and deal a little bit of damage before it goes off. I recommend targeting the one on the left. Well, actually, you don't have to do that. I decided to do that because of the sigils that I brought. I'll explain that in just a moment. But I decided to try and do as much damage to the one on the left as possible. Because right after they do this attack, they're going to give themselves a extremely high potency physical defense down debuff. It's 5 tiers of physical defense down, which is more than we can apply to enemies. So I'm going to take this opportunity to use Glenn's Limit Break. And I'm going to focus all of my attacks on this one on the left. I'm not going to, as much as I can, I'm going to try not to use Cloud and Matt's AoE Quakera abilities, because I want to kill this one on the left very quickly. If we can kill it, we can skip, having to worry about that enemy's sigils. I have triangle sigils on both Matt and Cloud, but I only have circle sigils on Cloud. That's why I wanted to kill the one on the left as quickly as possible, so that I would know that the stream phase would be nice and cozy. Throughout this stream phase, the enemy is going to use Bestial Roar, which lowers your party's physical defense, and then it uses AoE physical abilities. So the faster that you can end the stream phase, the less you'll have to worry about those. I wasn't sure how long this fight was going to last, so I decided to use it as an opportunity to heal up a little bit once the stream phase ended, and then I followed up with the limit breaks here from Cloud and Matt. Vertical Strike, as you just saw, is a single target physical attack. I recommend swapping to defensive stance if you have to get hit by that, just to mitigate the damage. I didn't, because I actually didn't know the boss was going to do that. So that's a little bit of a blunder that I made there. I could have avoided some damage. And the reason that's important is that the way that you get high scores in these dungeon ranking events, and just in Crisis dungeons in general, is by dealing as much damage as possible to the boss, ending the fights as quickly as possible, and taking as little damage as possible. So for the first one, it's based on 1 hit max. The more damage you can deal in 1 hit, the better. And then the second one is just ending the fight as quickly as possible, which is not exactly the same as the first, but they're definitely going hand in hand. And then, of course, ending the fight faster means that you take less damage. So those are the 3 things that you want to focus on, in addition to using as few items as possible. But again, we're here to just finish the dungeon, get our goodies, and get out. I decided to take the physical defense trance ability there, and I decided to also use a high potion because we have an ad encounter happening very soon, and it's involving 2 Wrathhounds again and the Queen in the center. But this time it's going to be harder because those enemies have been buffed because, you know, the crisis level has increased or whatever. I wanted to show that there's a blue chest there for you to grab the first time that you do the dungeon, so make sure you don't forget that. You can get this ad encounter either before or after you've picked up the yellow chest, so just be ready for that. Now, just like before, we're going to target one of the Wrathhounds and try and take it down as quickly as possible. And I'm going to be swapping to Glenn to try and get him to remove the poison anytime that he's able to and anytime it comes up. I don't do it exactly perfectly, but, you know, it's fine. I wouldn't be showing you this run if I died here. Alright, so I swapped to the Queen a little bit early because Cloud was using his Shiva Blade ability, which has a long cast time, and I was pretty sure that it was going to kill that Wrathhound, so I swapped to the Queen so that the other 2 characters would use damaging abilities against her instead of wasting damage on the Wrathhound. You might be wondering if I'm going to be able to kill this before it uses Leaping Slash. I am not going to be able to kill it before, and down goes Glenn, which is okay. You're not graded based on damage you take during ad encounters, and all you need to do is just not die. You just don't want to have all your party members die. So even if 2 of them die, if you survive, you're okay to keep going throughout the dungeon. Don't worry about it. So if you've never had a character die in a Crisis dungeon before, they're revived with 1 HP once the fight is over. So that ad encounter drops a couple of items. We're going to pick up our chest, and then we are not going to fight Ifrit. Or Ifrit, excuse me. If you really want to challenge, like if it's been easy so far, you can go ahead and fight Ifrit, take the path there with the arrow. We are going to fight the Red Dragon. If you fight Ifrit, in case anybody doesn't know, you can get double the score of a normal boss fight. So instead of getting 50,000 or 60,000, you would get 100,000 or 120,000 score after the fight, depending on how well you do, of course. So before going into the dragon fight, I used a couple of items just to make sure that our party is in good shape. And then I also used magic jellies. I don't know if these were absolutely necessary, but again, this is a run where we just want to get in, finish the dungeon, get our free goodies, irrespective of how we rank against other players, and we just want to get out. So I decided I was going to use items. You don't necessarily have to, and once you've done this, feel free to play around with the run, see if you can improve the score a little bit. You might be able to push it up to an S+, you might be able to get a good ranking, who knows. But again, we just want to get in there and do what we can. So during this fight, I'm going to be using limit breaks to delay abilities again. The dragon uses fog breath, and you might have noticed that I did not bring a healing Azuna for fog. So we're just going to have to sit with the fog whenever it hits us. For those who don't know, fog increases the amount of ATB that you need to cast magic abilities by 2 ATB. So these materia casts that I'm using, instead of costing 3 ATB, they're going to cost 5 ATB if I get hit with fog. Now we don't have any more limit breaks, so we're finally just going to have to get hit with fog breath. And thankfully he chooses Glenn, which is good or bad depending how you look at it. Glenn is the only character who has a healing button, but that means that Cloud and Matt can focus on damage. During the stream phase, it's a bit long. Periodically, the boss is going to use single target magic attacks, and you can see the target he's going to hit. So what I decided to do is swap to defensive stance just before each attack is going to go off, and that way we can keep Glenn as healthy as possible. It's a really good thing that I did that, because you can see that Glenn is very close to being dead. It's very possible that if the boss was able to get one more off, Glenn would have died, but we're able to end the stream phase just before the boss is able to start casting another one. We use the opportunity to heal up with Glenn, and with everyone else, we're going to be throwing as much ice damage as possible. Roar reduces your party's physical attack, which is completely fine because we're relying on magic attack. Well, except for Glenn, but he does have a magic button with his secondary weapon, so we'll just use that. And we have all 3 limit breaks up, so we're just going to go ahead and use them. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember what Red Dragon Screech does, and I did not want to find out. It looks like it's a magic attack. I can't remember if it's single target or if it's AoE. I have no idea. Try not to get hit by it. The boss can't hit you with it if the boss is dead. That's just a good lesson for all Crisis dungeons. And there you have it. That is the last fight that we're going to be doing for this Crisis dungeon, and that's going to bring it to a close. 60,000 score, again, very respectable for a Crisis dungeon. We just barely missed the time bonus that you can get. If you kill a boss in less than a minute and 30 seconds, you get a couple thousand extra points. Alright, so this run is not an S+ run, it is an A+ run. Which again, the point was just to get in, get our points, and get out. That is the end of the guide. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you're interested in seeing a stronger run, I do have a run with my main team up on the channel already, and I plan to release another one that's even better. Alright, till next time, take care.